Hello, people. There's a little bit I want to share with you all, um, maybe in little bits and pieces about a few different subjects, and you'll get a sense of how it comes together. Something I wanted to talk about and I was feeling close to is the rich culture that India has. And I feel like India's culture is something that can be shared with the world. And in today's times, there is a lot of room for the kind of diverse cultural experiences, practices, beliefs, and it may create room or give ideas to people of how they can try to live their lives in different ways that are most relevant to them and feel purposeful, fulfilling for them. India is a land of diversity and has had a heritage of having a deep respect for life. Maybe we've lost our way a little bit in the present, but that is the heritage of India for many thousands of years. People coming and settling, cultures mixing, few thousand years later, another culture coming in. And somewhere in today's culture, Indian culture, there is a mix of so many different cultures. So, like the Rajput architecture is this magnificent mix of both Hindu architecture and Mughal architecture, or say when the Indus Valley civilization was in full flow and um, tribes from the west calling themselves nobles or Aryans came and brought their own sort of beliefs and practices and seem to have come together on some kind of middle ground and potentially developed more evolved philosophies. Um, the Bhagavad Gita is an interesting example of how uh, philosophies, beliefs have evolved over time in India. It has traces of the Aryan influence as well as the Indian uh, beliefs that were there at the time. Um, the primary gods in India were Shiva and the mother goddess. Shiva coming from the word love. Um, Often you hear of that combination of Shiva Shakti, um, and that union symbolizes sort of all the energies in the world, in the universe, and the sort of uh, Vedic tradition that the Aryans are bringing has this um, sort of hints of what you find in Greece of this, and essentially the Aryans uh, came as far east as India and went as far west as Greece. So really old philosophies have traces of that Aryan root. And in this context, I was referring to how in India there's Indra, the god of uh, thunder and uh, kind of the king of gods in a sense, similar to Zeus in Greece. And there are various um similar kinds of gods in the Deva pantheon as there are in the Greek. The evolution that the Gita kind of brings in is maybe the fusion of both the traveling noble and the earth earth people coming together. Um, but however, it has fused and evolved, and you can find traces of the Gita in the teachings of Buddha. Um, if you're familiar with the concepts of Buddhism and go through the Gita, you'll be able to draw parallels and potentially see how the thinking has evolved and has been shared by someone obviously very intent on having more people understand life in a deeper way, um, with great empathy, seeing a lot of people suffering, struggling, and wanting to do something about it to help them. And I think that drive of Shakyamuni, Siddhartha, was was with that kind of similar intent. I feel that kind of compassion is possibly what was driving, say, someone like Jesus, who was, from the stories we hear, known to search for a deeper meaning and seeing in people of all sorts, seeing sort of God in them, seeing everyone as equal and everyone as worthy of respect. And I think people from time to time are born with those feelings. I know a lot of people who are genuinely wanting to help others without any sort of need to get something back in return. And that's kind of a message that is almost universal in the different kinds of religions that we are aware of in today's times. Uh, the popularly known religions are somewhere sharing that idea of uh, giving selflessly and doing things selflessly without expecting something in return. It's something that is found in the Bible. It's found in Hinduism, Buddhism. So something the Gita reminds us about, um, at the end of a few verses, is of how small we are in comparison to the universe, which in itself was born from a very small point and has expanded over generations. And somewhere this different explanations and in different languages using different metaphors seem to be communicating the same kind of force that unites everything that exists and is bigger than all of it, as if reminding us to be maybe humbler and to not get caught up in the little nuances that can be stressful in our daily life for all sorts of reasons, but instead dedicating ourselves to something that is much bigger than us, much bigger than even this vast universe. Can we imagine something bigger than the universe and dedicate ourselves, our lives to that? The further you want to go, the bigger your cause needs to be.